Trump takes the fifth and repeats same answer in the New York fraud probe deposition. Trump takes the fifth and repeats same answer in the New York fraud probe deposition. The former President Donald Trump's deposition in the civil fraud investigation of the New York Attorney General from last summer. Trump testified under oath on August 10, and the video shows him responding courteously to the initial questions posed by State Attorney General Letitia James. Wearing a dark blue suit, red tie, and American flag lapel pin, sitting in front of a camera in a downtown Manhattan conference room, Trump answered yes when asked by James if he was familiar with the rules for giving a deposition. The former president, now a candidate for the same office, invoked the Fifth Amendment and refused to answer questions about his finances for nearly 4 hours. The New York Attorney General's office filed transcripts of portions of Trump's deposition as an exhibit on October 13 in its $250 million lawsuit against Trump, 3 of his children, and his company. Once the exhibit was filed, those portions of Trump's deposition were no longer confidential. This office initially denied CBS News' request, pursuant to New York's Freedom of Information law, for video corresponding to these portions of the transcript. An appeals officer overturned this verdict. Anything you say during this examination may be used in a civil proceeding, including civil enforcement proceedings and criminal actions. Do you comprehend that? James asked. I believe, Trump responded. Is that affirmative? James asked. Trump stated, I don't know what I did wrong, but the answer is yes, I do understand. You may refuse to answer any question if a truthful response would tend to incriminate you. Do you comprehend that? James proceeded. Trump replied, yes. And any intentional misrepresentation on your part may constitute perjury. Do you grasp this, sir? Yes. After the initial questions concluded, Trump was permitted to read a prepared statement into the record. He began with a familiar refrain, "This is the most extensive witch hunt in our nation's history." He referred to James as a rogue and out-of-control prosecutor and accused her of having political motivations for her office's investigation into his financial practices. On September 21, just over a month later, James announced her office's lawsuit against Trump, 3 of his children, and his company, accusing them of a decades-long scheme to artificially inflate the value of their properties. They have denied any wrongdoing. In the deposition video, Trump declares, "This entire situation is extremely unfair. Anyone in my position who did not take the Fifth Amendment would be a fool, an absolute fool," Trump said, adding, "On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the questions under the rights and privileges accorded to every citizen by the United States Constitution. This will be my response to any additional questions." Kevin Wallace, the Attorney General's office's senior enforcement counsel, stated for the record that the statement was lengthy and that obviously, we disagree with a number of the characterizations. Most of the deposition would consist of Wallace's interrogation, which he then began. At the outset, Trump responded to 3 questions by saying, "For all of the reasons provided in my answer, which is incorporated herein in its entirety, I decline to answer the question." Wallace then told Trump he could say, "Same answer," to speed things up. Trump did so more than 400 times throughout the interview, according to a court filing by the New York Attorney General. Following the conclusion of the deposition, Trump issued a public statement explaining that he had exercised his Fifth Amendment right and refused to answer questions. An attorney for Trump declined to comment on the video's release Tuesday. During one questioning segment, Wallace inquired about Trump's annual statements of financial condition since 2011. In February 2022, the accounting firm that authored these reports recanted its work and stated that they can no longer be relied upon. The valuations in this document contain erroneous and deceptive valuation statements. Is this accurate? Wallace inquired. Same answer, Trump replied. Was he aware they contained false and misleading statements? Same answer. Even as he responded same answer to question after question, Trump appeared to study the financial documents presented to him by Wallace by crossing his arms and leaning forward. Wallace also inquired about the involvement of former chief financial officer of the Trump Organization, Alan Weisselberg, who is currently serving a 5-month prison sentence for tax fraud, and current company comptroller Jeffrey McConney. The two executives were named as defendants in the $250 million lawsuit filed by the New York Attorney General to cripple the company's operations in the state. The Trumps and their company are accused of engaging in a decades-long, widespread fraud scheme involving manipulations of property values. In addition to monetary penalties, the Attorney General's office seeks to cease the company's New York operations and sanctions against the four Trumps. From at least 2005 to the present, you've had an ongoing agreement with Messrs. Weisselberg and McConney that they will prepare the statement of financial condition using valuations based on false and misleading assumptions to inflate reported values. Is this accurate? Wallace inquired during his deposition. The company has denied the allegations made by the New York Attorney General against it and its executives. Same response, Trump stated. McConney and Weisselberg were the key witnesses in a separate criminal case brought by the Manhattan District Attorney against two Trump Organization companies. The companies were convicted of 17 counts of tax fraud by a jury last month, stemming from various schemes to reduce payroll obligations while giving executives large tax-free bonuses and high-end untaxed perks. Weisselberg entered a separate guilty plea in the case. The civil case of the New York Attorney General is scheduled to go to trial on October 2. The judge, in this case, has denied Trump's attorney's repeated requests to postpone this date.